Much of continental Europe is suffering through a third and brutal wave of COVID-19. Making matters worse, the drive to vaccinate throughout the European Union is faltering and badly, coupled with recent concerns about the AstraZeneca vaccine. As Nick Schifrin reports, the EU is running behind.
On the banks of the Seine, the city of lights feels a little bit dimmed. Paris is under a new month-long lockdown, and along with this spring's bloom comes heavy gloom. France faces what European leaders call the crisis of the century. Hospitals are overwhelmed with a faster-spreading variant first discovered in Britain, and the lockdown will not prevent the city's fate, warns the head of a Paris intensive care unit.
Whatever we do, those who are infected today will need to go to hospital or in intensive care units in 10 days from now, and those in the ICU will stay there for 2 weeks. In any case, this coming month will be hell.
A deepening circle of hell, in part because of a vaccine shortage. Across the European Union, only 5% are fully vaccinated. That relative deficit comes in part from the 27-country bloc centralizing procurement, but being too cautious in guaranteeing supply. In a Greek TV interview last night, French President Emmanuel Macron admitted Europe should have had more of what he called American ambition.
Without a doubt, in a way, we didn't shoot for the stars. I think that should be a lesson for us. We were maybe too rational.
That rationality also included generosity. The EU has distributed 71 million doses internally, but exported 43 million doses to more than 30 countries. That disparity has led to incredible political pressure on and from EU leaders. During today's European summit, leaders confirmed they would block exports to countries with better vaccination rates, but continue exports to the UN and developing world.
What has led up to this announcement is basically the fact that in Europe, things are not going very well.
Natalie Tocci is a special advisor to the EU leadership and directs the International Affairs Institute in Rome. She says vaccine failures threaten European solidarity and could increase European nationalism.
This is really, in a sense, not only about the pandemic, but it's really about the future of the European project. If the EU does not deliver, that nationalist, sovereignist sort of wave that had swept across Europe is going to be back.
But it's a different story. In recently divorced Britain, 40% of the country has received at least one shot. It's imported 10 million doses from continental Europe and exported 0. Today, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson visited a daycare and showed off his painting skills.
It needs work.
But said the 0 to 10 million ratio worked just fine.
One thing I'm firmly libertarian about is free trade. And I don't want to see blockades of vaccines or of medicines. I don't think that's the way forward, either for us or for any of our friends.
The big concern is that once the EU starts to clamp down more and more on exports of vaccines, that this can undermine efforts to vaccinate the rest of the world.
Suri Moon co-directs the Global Health Center at the Graduate Institute in Geneva. She says AstraZeneca is the developing world's most important vaccine, and export reductions could hurt everyone's ability to overcome COVID.
Economically, it makes sense for richer countries to make sure poor ones get access to vaccines. In terms of political stability and political relationship, and in terms of trying to prevent the emergence of new mutations, new variants of concern, which can come back and undermine the pandemic control efforts in wealthier countries, it also makes sense to vaccinate everywhere.
Also not helping, more vaccine skepticism. Overnight, AstraZeneca released new data of its U.S. trials in response to government criticism it had cherry-picked preliminary data. In Denmark, authorities today extended a freeze on AstraZeneca for 3 weeks. That kind of news has led to more hesitancy, including back in France, where Brigitte Becker shows off the inhaler for her asthma, the toys for her grandkids, but refuses the vaccine that will let her see them.
Considering everything that has been said about AstraZeneca, I don't want to take it anymore.
The irony is countries distributing European vaccines are reducing COVID rates, helping prove vaccine safety and efficiency.
And so in some ways, people should be even more willing to come forward and be immunized. But it's really unfortunate. The daily headlines, I think, are going to make it even harder.
Scientists insist AstraZeneca and all the vaccines are safe. It's now a question of how quickly the world can distribute them and avoid more lockdowns. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Nick Schifrin.